Hello, fellow book lovers. Welcome back to A Book Binger, a podcast where we talk about the books we love, recommendations from friends, to friends, and everything bookish. I'm your host, Shelby Miller, and I'm so excited for this week's episode. Let's get started. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to another episode of A Book Binger. I'm really excited for this week. I have been thinking a lot about this topic. I wanted to talk about the different ways that we read a book. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, there's not that many. And to be fair, there really isn't. But the three I want to talk about are the three I see the most, which I think are also the only three. But I'd love to be proven wrong. So the one I want to talk about first is a physical copy. The physical copy of a book, I feel like, is the go-to for a lot of readers. There is something about just picking up a book and being able to see the progress you make, feel the pages, feel the weight of the book, and have it in your hand. I feel like that is my go-to, to have a physical copy in my hand whenever I read a book. There's something about the way it smells too. I love a good book smell. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't read a physical copy. And those are other topics I want to get to as well. But I wanted to bring in one of my really close friends and hear her opinions on why she also reads physical copies.
Hi, my name is Noelle. Shelby is one of my best friends, and I love talking about books with her and sharing book recommendations to each other. She asked me to talk about why I prefer physical copies versus audiobooks. And I think one of the main reasons is reading a book to me is kind of like spending time with a friend. And when I'm with a friend, I want to give them my full energy and attention. And when I read a book, that's kind of how I am. I want to give it my full attention. So I don't want to be doing chores or doing other things while I'm just listening. I want to be reading and reading a physical copy. And maybe it's just also something I'm used to and that I enjoy, but something about having my eyes on the page and having control over that and when I stop, and again, being fully engaged. I think there are definitely times to listen to audiobooks, and that's okay too. But for the books that I really, really want to read, I definitely want to read a physical copy. That's just how I am.
I loved what Noelle said, especially about being with a friend. I think that is a really good comparison with a physical copy of a book. You know, you want to spend a lot of time with this and you want to really engage and make sure your attention is fully absorbed into this book. For me, that is exactly what reading is about. It's a huge hobby of mine. I set aside designated time, especially in the evening, to read my book. And if it's a really intense book, I make sure my husband leaves me alone. And he is very understanding about that. And I am so grateful he is, because it is like spending time with a really good friend to me. The other one I wanted to talk about, the other way that we can read book, is e-readers. E-readers are electronic readers. So that can mean a few different things. There is Kindles, Nooks, reading on your laptop, tablet, computer, and even if you want to get crazy, your TV. I did have a Kindle for the longest time and I loved it. It was nice to get books readily available with just a click of a button. I could have it with me. I could take all of these books with me wherever I went. And I have another friend who is going to share her insights on why she likes to read her Kindle. But one thing I wanted to say before we hear from her is that no matter which way you're reading a book, if that's what you feel is right for you, then that's perfect. Don't feel pressured to read any other way. Don't feel like because you're reading in a certain manner that it's not reading. Some people will say, like if you don't have your physical copy, it's not really reading. You're not reading a book. And to some extent, depending, I might be that kind of person. Comics, I'm a little iffy about, but that's my personal opinion, and everybody has their opinion. So I want to go ahead and jump over to my friend Kimmy, and I want to hear what she has to say about her Kindle.
Hello, I'm Kimmy. I like to read from a Kindle. I'd say one of the things that I like about reading from a Kindle is that it's lightweight and easy to hold. It doesn't have to feel awkward at all when you're laying on your side in bed. It also has a built in light, so I can read anywhere. I don't have to be the annoying person on an airplane that turns on their light at like 7 p.m. when it's all dark. Um, I also like that it's waterproof. I'm able to read in the bath or even the shower sometimes. It gets splashed on the page, but it doesn't matter. Um, I also like that it hides the title of books that I'm reading. So if I'm reading a really cheesy romance novel, no one else can tell.
I love it so much that Kimmy mentioned that she can read it in the shower. I wish I could do that more so. I don't know necessarily about the shower, but I do get scared when I bring my book into the tub because I feel like if I drop it, then I'm ruining it, or I'm just so afraid to get it wet. I'm not enjoying my bath. So that is definitely an upside to a Kindle for sure. I love that a lot. Now, the last one I wanted to talk about is audiobooks. I am not very, I wouldn't even know what to say. I'm not the kind of person that listens to books very frequently. I listened to one in the last couple of months, but it was a reread for me and it was very helpful. I was able to get a lot more out of it than I did my first read. But I did wish I had my physical copy with me. I had lent it out, and so I wasn't able to reread it, but I really wanted to. And so I was trying the audiobook out. Audiobooks is not really for me. I get swept away too easily, kind of jumping back to what Noelle said about, if I'm focusing on something else, I'm really not paying attention to either whether it's music, TV, or an audiobook. So I don't have the concentration for that as well as other people might. Now, I have a friend, she's been talking to me a lot about some audiobooks that she's been listening to. And it is amazing what she gets out of it. And I know there's a lot of really good books out there that have like sound effects, multiple characters, or multiple voices for characters. And I think that's amazing. And I think that's what every audiobook should be if it was to be an audiobook. I unfortunately have not listened to very many good audiobooks. They're very dull, very monotone. So I think that's why I really haven't jumped into it as much. Um, I know a lot of people as well who I had previously worked with. They loved listening to audiobooks on their way to work because they had lived so far away. Now, that's a wonderful use of your time, I think. There's so many other things you could be listening to, and a lot of it could be garbage. And so, if you are traveling a lot and you really enjoy just listening while you're doing other things, then audiobooks are great for you. I want to know more about those out there who are listening to audiobooks. Where are you getting them from? Which ones are you reading? Is it just a certain genre? Do you prefer, multiple characters being read from different people? I'm just really curious about it because I have not been graced with that knowledge as well as that interest. So I'd love to hear from more people who have had that experience. So, recapping all three of these different ways to read a book. You've got your physical copy, any kind of e reader, and your audiobooks. I want to know from you, listeners, which one do you prefer more? Or do you do all three of them? That is something that I'd really like to know. I love getting your input here on this podcast, and I love putting your input out to other people as well. That's what this whole podcast is for me, is to be able to connect and be able to share. If you really want to do that with me, I'd really, really appreciate getting a message. We've got so many other outlets here that I love to share it with everybody. I'm so thankful for you guys, and you have no idea how much I enjoy being able to talk about books to so many people. You guys are truly amazing. Until next time. If you are a new listener or have been following a book binger since the beginning, don't forget to follow our Instagram. We post upcoming episodes, current reads, and much more. It makes it easier for you to send in recommendations, suggestions, and even sending us a voice message. You can also find out episodes and updates on our website.